This is Jason Verney's podcast. I am Jason Verney. I'm going to give you a little review of a film that I've just seen. I'm actually in Thailand right now, in Chiang Mai. I've just seen a film that some would call a Japanese film, but it's actually directed by Wim Wenders. And although I haven't seen that many of his films, I was a big fan of Paris, Texas from years ago. And I was compelled to write this review because, well, first of all, it was very atmospheric, but I get that with some Asian films. And I'm a filmmaker and I'm writing scripts at the moment, and I've had an award-winning film, a 30-minute drama called Reparation, and that's not so atmospheric, but I'm working on films relating to South Korea, Thailand, and what I saw in this film was that kind of atmospheric feeling that you get from some Asian films, and films that I fell in love with 15 years ago, whether it was Thai films, whether it was Japanese films, because that was a heavy influence that got me into, eventually kind of got me into Korean films. But there was a couple of things that struck me throughout the film, and one in particular, actually, I had cause to look up about this film as soon as it finished, and one of those aspects I looked up about was how the film came about. I believe that because the character in the film is a toilet cleaner who goes around toilets in Japan or in Tokyo, in a certain area. But I believe Wim Wenders was approached to was invited to go there. But instead of becoming they thought he might make a short film or a documentary, but he made this feature. So that was one thing. But also the aspect ratio. It's filmed in 1:33, so it's not square, but it fills up much less of the screen, a bit like TV almost. And it reminded me of A Ghost Story. If you saw that film. And bizarrely enough, I love that film and the music and everything that went with it. But I remember seeing it. I don't know if I saw it in the ICA London, but I remember seeing it. And only when I maybe saw it a second time, or when people were talking about it, I realised it was actually a smaller size. It was only an afterthought. Maybe because I was sitting towards the front of the cinema. I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe I was just so immersed in it. And I've actually read that one or two people, or at least one person, I don't know, online have said about this film, Perfect Days by Wim Wenders, the one that I'm doing this podcast about, and I'll try to keep this short and not ramble too much, but that one person did say they don't think it would be as compelling if it wasn't in this format, but I disagree. There were some shots in the film where the main character, who's actually been nominated for an Oscar. This is an Oscar nominee, this film. There's shots of him where his face is it's almost coming out at you, but that could be the way it was filmed, and so sort of tight on his face. But the film begins with watching this guy's daily life. And so, by the way, the main character, the main actor who's got who's having this, who's been talked about and having a best actor nomination is Koji Yakusho, and we see him having a daily life of going to this. He wears this blue suit. A blue sort of dungarees, overalls, that's the word I'm looking for. He goes to different toilets every day, cleans them, but immaculately cleans them, I suppose. But not only that, we're introduced to his life and his home, and I would say it's kind of minimalist, but later on in the film you realise that he actually does. There's a big thing about cassettes in the film, and that are played in the car. His vehicle that he drives, which is a van of some kind, and so cassettes are touched on, and music is heavy in this, and I'll get to that in a second. But we see him, but not only when he gets up every day, he seems to love his days. He seems to have this love of his life. You know, even though he's got this job that he seems to be very proud of, but he also in the mornings, before he's had his coffee out of the vending machine, he attends to his plants or his plant life or whatever in his room, and that room in his house, or that part of his upstairs, is shown in a lovely purple sort of, not purple haze, but purple pink sort of, is it purple pink, or was it? Yeah, so it's got that kind of, mood. You know, there's a lot of mood in this film, whether it's the colour or literally the landscapes. There's a lot of mood. You know, I wasn't sure at first when this film started. I thought, okay, there's a lot being said about this film. It's called Perfect Days. It's there in the trailer. You've got the song Perfect Day by Lou Reed. Lou Reed, as other artists in the film, are talked about a little bit. There's a scene in a cassette, a sort of a music memorabilia store, I suppose. And what is interesting, just to touch on that, although this is set in Japan and film, you know, it is Japanese by all, for all intents and purposes, a Japanese film, really. But, and in fact, I think I read as well that it's the first time a foreign director has had a film in the category for the Oscars where it's under the Japanese or international category, even though the director is not of that country. So what I was going to say was the contrast of this being a Japanese set film, that the music is all, you know, Western music. We've got Van Morrison, Patti Smith, Rolling Stones, and they're all well-known songs. There's no sort of songs that there might be one or two you don't know, and it's very. I suppose the first thing that hit me in the film was you see his life, you see him put some music on to start with. It's perhaps not the song you expect it to be, and you then see him go about his daily work. But you also this kind of becomes like a not a Groundhog Day, but you see him doing the same thing every day. He seems to sort of almost nod or praise or give thanks to nature, whether it's the skies, whether it's... I'm not really giving spoilers here, I don't feel. And some of it is in the trailer, and the music is in the trailer. But he seems to really appreciate, you know, his gratitude that he seems to have is displayed in his waking up, his getting out the house, leaving, and perhaps his shower and his baths. I mean, I've been to South Korea 9 times. I've still never been to Japan, and this actually made me want to... I've seen loads of Japanese films, especially years ago, but I still haven't taken that extra leap to go to Japan. So maybe on this 10th visit to Korea, maybe I'll add on a little visit to Japan. I don't know. But besides, I go to Busan almost every visit, and I think it is every visit to Korea, whether it's the Busan Film Festival, I go there, and it's only a couple of hours ferry ride away to Japan itself, Japan mainland. Anyway, so what I'm saying is this it's a Japanese film. It's international Western music, and what you witness is, I'm not going to say how the story unravels, but I wasn't sure at first because, you know, it was... I think what I'm trying to get to is it was repetitive, but in a good way, and the angles were different each time, and the colours are brilliant, and the mood and the music. It kind of, even if you were thinking, oh God, this is going to be one of those really difficult films to watch, the music kicks in and you're kind of into it, you know. And I was thinking from a filmmaker's point of view that some of the scenes are literally him going to different toilets, you know, public toilets, different ones, fancy ones of some sort, and there's a backstory behind this if you read about the film. But you see from a filmmaker's point of view, I've filmed stuff which has, you literally film it and then you base the film around it afterwards. You haven't got dialogue in those scenes, you put them together. And I was thinking they could have even done that. In fact, there's shots of him in the van different times of day because he's going to work and back. But obviously a lot more went into this than just that. But the story does develop. There becomes mention of family. There becomes mention of his past time with his family, whether that his sister or parents. There's a bar, kind of a bar where men just go, and there's a woman who works there and speaks to men, and there's the House of the Rising Sun is featured, that song, and a kind of a little twist on that. And all these things, you are never bored. You are never bored with this film. And I mean, you should never be bored with a film, but it's not. There's fragments of montage is put through the film as well. Perhaps I would say, and try not to give spoilers here, maybe based on a bit of photography that he does. He takes photos of this nature that he sees sometimes. And there's some interesting moments of him sharing glances at people that he sees every day, whether it's maybe, let's think of a couple of examples, someone who's dancing strangely, or who's maybe a vagrant, a woman who's eating a sandwich when he takes his sort of lunch break in a kind of familiar place. And all these things, there's another character introduced, the cassette tapes are talked about, and there's some, as I say, there's some brilliant shots. There's one of this bridge and a discussion with this guy. There's two guys talking, our main character and another guy, and they talk about shadows, and the bridge is the way it's illuminated, the way the water is shining is sublime. I can't really, that was quite, it's not near the beginning of the film, and again I'm trying not to give tiny even spoilers like this, at least halfway through the film, and I had no idea of how long the film was, and that was kind of nice really, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be over in no time or longer. And yeah, it's, as I say, I'm trying not to give it away, and I'm sure when you go to see it, whichever method you do see it by, I mean, the cinema's always great to see any film. I'm sure you'll know the runtime, but I literally didn't. And yeah, it's just, as I say, it's the shots, it's the little nuances, I suppose, of maybe of Japan, neighborhoods. As I say, it really makes me want to go there. And I've seen so many Japanese quirky comedies, thanks to people like Terracotta Distribution, or perhaps more so Third Window Films. These are two UK distributors who I used to, I still support. They've introduced a lot of film to our country, the UK. I don't live there now. I move around Asia as such, but I do pop back to the UK. But yeah, so I mean, I haven't been compelled to write or record a review for a while. MiniMiniMovie.com is my website, but I've been putting other stuff on there which relates to my Korean-related podcast, it relates to my filmmaking podcast, relates to my film sort of achievements, or my film stuff that I get involved with related to film, and less of those kind of the interviews that I did before. I interviewed a lot of Korean. I've interviewed Japanese directors and actors, and they're on my website. But sometimes I'm just compelled to do a little overview of this film, and I'm probably not doing it as justice, but I'm also trying to keep it minimal, there's and keep it sort of spoiler free. And I say minimal because I'm thinking of the character. He seems to have this not boring existence. He has a happy existence, and he's proud of. I think he's proud of his life. And the word melancholy comes to mind. I mean, there's a lot of M's that come to mind: music, mood, melancholy, moments, just lots of things. But there's parts where his emotions are really shown, whether it's in his eyes. It could be driving along. We're looking at our main character from the side, close up, and you see his face. He's kind of the melancholy I'm talking about. There's moments where, is he happy? Is he sad? Is he just in this ecstasy of, well, that might be a bit hard, it might be a bit sort of strong ecstasy, but he's content, but to the extreme maybe. But then maybe in his eyes, is that music maybe, uplifting him or upsetting him? It's kind of, it maybe it's difficult to work out, but you read what you want to into the film. So yes, I just wanted to record this, as I say, because one thing I will say about the cinema itself, Thailand, if you haven't been to Thailand, or if you haven't been to Thailand long enough to go to cinemas or to experience the modern Thailand, of course Thailand's full of oldness, and it's part of its charm. But when you go to a cinema or a shopping mall, the cinemas are fantastic. They knock over the ones we've got in the UK, the way they're maintained. But I will say, this is the first time I've been to a screening. I haven't been to that many. I went to a screening or two in Vietnam, at least one screening. And this particular one, I've been to, I don't know, this might be my fourth film since I've been here in Chiang Mai. And this particular screening room, fantastic room and auditorium, but I did feel like the screen reminded me a little bit of the Odeon bad experience that I was having in London, when the screen was too dark, the light was too dark, the projection was not, there was a lot of dark scenes in the film, but there's a lot of light as well, don't get me wrong. But in those moments, to make out all the outlines and the shapes, I don't know, but other screens I've been in to see films in that cinema have been perfect, brilliant, sort of the best colour I've seen, and it hasn't let me down. So maybe it was just a bad time, or maybe it was the type of film that was being shown. Maybe it was even the aspect ratio, although I don't think that should change the colour from in the auditorium itself. That's it. I'm sure I've missed something that I wanted to say about the film, but I really do recommend this. I went in not knowing much about it, having seen a trailer, and thinking this is a very good director. It's an Asian film. Of course, I've got the opportunity to see many Thai films here, but they're not necessarily ones I always want to see. And incidentally, I will say as well, I noticed at the end of the film, it's by in fact, you can find their YouTube channel where the official trailer is, I believe, but it's by the Match Factory, and their logo is just like the Mubi one. Now, unless I admit, and I'm a big advocate for Mubi, and Mubi, if you go onto my MiniMiniMovie.com website, you'll see if you type in Mubi, you'll see that I'm a big advocate for what they do and the great films and the great platform that they, the things they offer. So I wonder if this is something, I don't know if I've missed something, gone along the radar, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's connected or it's a complete coincidence. But their logo looks extremely cinema, and after this, I'm going to look that up. So a great film, great landscapes, great colours, great. It is a brilliantly shot film. Cinematography is brilliant, and the acting is superb. The emotions that come is moments, whether it's a family-related moment or whether it's an alone moment, or whether it's another character that's introduced, and these are moments of emotion. So I really highly rate it. Okay, that's it, and I hope you enjoy these sort of sporadic episodes that I've been putting out of late. And don't forget, I've got the Not So Korean podcast elsewhere. I've also got the Micro Budget Filmmakers podcast. Well, we interview filmmakers. It's the MBF Micro Budget Filmmakers. Okay, that's it. And all take care.